welcome back to the Accommodation Show. I'm super excited to bring Stacey St John to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Bart. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm excited as well. I've been excited for this episode for quite a while. I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. You scheduled in the appointment with me to do this recording and to get it all together. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to see her in a few days. But it wasn't. You tricked me. It was a few weeks down the line. And I'm sitting there waiting. When am I going to get to interview Stacey St John? And then finally got there. And the recording is happening today. So I am pumped.
Yay.
Now, Stacey, so I know that you do all sorts of wonderful things, and the reason why you're on this show is because I know that you're a leader, you get things done, you know an awful lot about the short-term rental space, you're a licensed realtor, you've got a huge community of female entrepreneurs and people that work in the short-term rental space. Just so that everyone knows, there's 10,000 members in that community. I'm afraid to say the number 10,000 because by the time this episode comes out, I know it's going to be a lot more. You're doing an awful lot of things, but I'd love you to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background is, and maybe a tiny bit about what the group is all about and what you're doing with that.
Sure. So, hello. My name is Stacey St John, and I live in Ohio in the USA. I have 6 beachfront short-term rental properties, but I started off investing in real estate in long-term rentals first. I started off investing by accident. I bought a property for my son to live in Florida, and then he ended up not moving to Florida. And so I was very quickly thrust into the world of real estate investing, and I loved it. And I ended up getting my real estate license to help support my investing and make it a better profit center for me when I was flipping properties, things of that nature. When COVID hit, we had just finished flipping a property, and my husband and I kind of looked at each other and said, why are we going to buy another long-term rental right now? There was a lot of uncertainty with eviction moratoriums happening all over the place due to COVID. We really felt like, maybe this is a time to diversify how we're investing. How can we put our dollars to work even better for us for where we are in this point in time? So I did about 6 months worth of research before buying my first short-term rental property, and then my whole world has kind of changed, quite honestly, because I discovered how much I absolutely love short-term rentals, and I love everything about it, including all the great people that I have the opportunity to meet, like you. And you mentioned my Facebook group. I do have a Facebook group that was born quite organically, and it is called Female Short-Term Rental Investors. Actually, at the time that I put in that request to book your calendar, I did have 10,000 people in my group, but as of today, it's 11,500. We're just growing rapidly. We have women from all over the world who are interested in investing in short-term rentals. Either they're currently investing in short-term rentals or they are serving the short-term rental owner community in some way, shape, or form. And let me tell you, that is such a fun passion project for me. And it's really rewarding, I think, to see people empowering and helping each other learn along the way. So I know you asked me about my background too.
Oh, look, I think, yeah, look, you've really answered it, and you've already, through what you've said there, there's just a million questions that I have for you. So, all right, so tell me, there's a few questions that I have, and one of them being around you investing in real estate and then switching to short-term rentals. So one of the things that's really interesting is the fact that you became a licensed real estate agent. And I think that from what I understand, you didn't necessarily have to become a realtor, but you decided to because you thought it might add more value to you. Tell us through the thinking process around that and whether you recommend someone else do the same thing and your journey around getting your license.
Yeah. I will share with you, when I got my real estate license, I was not investing in short-term rentals yet. So I was investing in long-term rentals. What I was finding, as you know, a lot of folks can probably relate to, is that properties were flying off the market very quickly. And what I was finding was, as an investor, I was losing out on great deals because I was waiting for another real estate agent to show me a property. And so I started thinking about, well, gosh, there's an efficiency factor. If I can get my real estate license and hop in to see a property as quickly as I want to, I have a competitive advantage in that way. I also was flipping properties. And so, when I was finished with a rehab and ready to put that property up for sale, I knew that I could be more profitable if I had my real estate license, because I was only giving away half of the commission. I actually had someone ask me last week if they felt like I thought it would be important to have a real estate license to be successful in short-term rentals. And my personal opinion is no. You do not have to be a licensed real estate agent to be successful in short-term rentals. I consider that short-term rentals really have three different components to them. To be a great short-term rental investor, we have to understand the fundamentals of being a real estate investor. So understanding cash flow, sourcing properties, tax strategies, creative financing. There's also, as you know, an element of hospitality. We have to understand great customer service. We have to understand the emotional connection we're building with our guests. And in addition to that, understand operations, right? Because there's a lot happening behind the scenes when it comes to that day-to-day. And then last but not least, I believe that there's a component of marketing. We have to understand, as short-term rental owners, who our ideal guests are and how to market to them, whether we're in charge of our own marketing or not. So even if we're using a property manager and they're taking care of driving traffic to my listing and making those bookings, when a guest walks into my property, they have to understand that I understand them. And so my ideal guest feels comfortable, welcome, excited when they walk into my property. Why is that important? Well, because I want them to come back and stay with me. And I also want them to share it with their friends, right? And say, oh my gosh, I just stayed at the most amazing property. You've got to check this place out. That was a really long answer to your question.
No, I love it. I love it. So you did all the real estate investing, and you became the realtor because you wanted to get better deals. You found that it was going to be a lot more profitable. Obviously, I imagine that there was an education part, sort of a genuine interest in real estate in that space that came through. Then short-term rentals sort of hits your radar, and you said, I'm excited about this particular space. So you've got all the people and the connections, and that's kind of what we do now as we really look after our communities and people and educating and that sort of thing. But there would have been a point where you're not doing short-term rentals, you're doing long-term leases, and then you go, hold on a second, I like this space. What was it that drew you into short-term rentals?
Well, that's a really good question. I think there were a couple of different things that were weighing on my mind. There was a tax benefit for me to invest in generating active income. So I, as a real estate investor in the long term, I don't want to get into tax strategies, but you have the ability to deduct certain expenses and depreciation from your rental properties. Because I had a W-2 income, I was not able to realize all of those tax benefits. By investing in short-term rentals, since it's more active income, I could actually utilize that as a tax strategy to get me in a position where I owed less money to the good old IRS. So that was one consideration, and I am so not a CPA, but I did definitely lean on my team to advise me about the best way to mitigate that, and again, use my rental portfolio to my advantage. The other thing, quite selfishly, is I love the beach, right? And so when we were looking to shift into short-term rentals, one of the things that I spent a lot of time doing was researching markets that aligned with our buying criteria, but also, kind of fit a sense where, oh gosh, if I have to take a trip to the beach to look at property, that's not going to be an awful thing. So it was a little bit exciting because I could, fly down to the beach for the weekend, look at properties, utilize that as a tax write-off, a business expense, and be able to do that on an ongoing basis as well. So those were a couple of things that really excited me to begin with. I think once I started getting into it and really understanding, oh my gosh, I love this. The tax benefits, like, I don't even think about that. That's gravy now at this point.
I think that's a great top tip, by the way. If I kind of rewind a little bit, what you said, when you're looking to establish your portfolio and when you're looking to sort of grow the business, you went with where you wanted to be. You went with what was calling your calling, rather than trying to scout out and say, hey, what's the best deal? What's the most profitable, and that sort of thing. That kind of becomes secondary because you're investing your time in it anyway, and that's the most expensive part of your business is your time spent looking for these properties, growing it, talking to guests, dealing with all the issues and all that sort of stuff. So the closer you can be aligned to your personality, to your goals, to what you want to do, the better off you're going to be. So when you are looking for property and you're going, oh, where should I invest? Find a place where you really like to go to. Because you're going to have to spend a lot of time in that particular area, especially to start off with, because you need to understand it to be able to grow a business which will have any differentiation from your competitors. It's as simple as that. Any comments on that?
I couldn't agree more. So I think it's quite often that I hear people asking other people, where's the best place to invest? Where should I be investing my dollars? And I always reply, it depends on what your goals are for your business, where you want to be in 5 years, 3 years, a year from now, what your buying criteria is. Do you want to invest in a college town? Do you want to invest on the beach, in the mountains? To your point, invest somewhere where you're going to enjoy spending time, because at the end of the day, yes, we are in this business to build wealth, but we're in this business to have a great time too. And I love to have a great time at the beach personally.
Yeah. I think everybody does. Or most people
Who doesn't,
apart,
right?
apart from the ones that don't like the sand in their jocks. Okay, cool. So your journey is really fascinating, and I love the fact that even though we're just talking about your journey, you're already dropping all these little gems that people can take away and have a think about in terms of the fundamentals of setting up a short-term rental business, if that's something that you might want to do. Then I want to go back to the group. I'm kind of interested in that and in empowering female founders, because one of the things for me is that I'm not allowed to be in the group. So I'm male, so I'm not allowed in the group, and I don't want to focus on that too much because I don't want to cause that controversy between, why can't I get in? Can I not? Look at it as empowering, right? You're finding a demographic. You're saying, I'm going to help this particular demographic out to do better, rather than being exclusive to or excluding a certain demographic. That's not the point. The point is to be inclusive of a certain demographic. Yeah. I'm sure you'd agree with that. But tell me about the importance of the group in terms of it being female founders and the that community and that collaboration and that particular part of it.
Yeah. One of the things that I feel very passionate about is creating a safe space for people. So within our Facebook group, I am a pretty big stickler on kindness, on being respectful of other people, and using our Facebook community as a platform to encourage and empower and educate each other. So, quite honestly, I pop into a lot of Facebook groups that are kind of negative. You have people that are barking at each other and saying things that are not so nice, right? And I have to be honest with you, when that happens in my group, I kick people out. Because I'm really passionate, like I said, about creating an environment where people feel comfortable asking questions. Because chances are, if you have a question, there are a bunch of other people in the group that have the same question, right? So feeling like it's okay to ask a question and being able to get honest feedback from other people who have the intent of helping you out and encouraging you and empowering you to be better at what you're doing. So that's really kind of the culture of the Facebook group in and of itself. It's very, I hope, from the feedback that I get from other people, it's a very positive and encouraging place. And because of that, we have tremendous conversations that are just very, very tactical, quite honestly. A lot of questions about what are your favorite comforters and what are your favorite colors for this set of cabinets that I'm getting ready to paint. Do you like green or blue? But we take that, and then we also deliver training and education within that group as well, and hear each other's empowering stories. So one of the things that I do is I'll interview other folks that may be brand new to short-term rentals, or maybe have been doing them for a decade, but allowing other people to hear their story and connect with them and learn from them as well. So that's another thing we do there.
I absolutely love it, and ever since I kind of got to know you and I started to hear your story and where you align philosophically, like I agree with it completely. With the kicking people out of groups is quite interesting. From my perspective, the way that I try to manage it is to have them self-select their way out of the group, which happens quite often. Actually, people just crack it. They're just like, I'm not being heard. It's like, no, because no one wants to hear what you've got to say. Because you're not actually adding any value, and we're so inundated with negativity, especially in the right now, that there's no it just ruins it for everybody else in terms of the community. So curating it is really important, and I really love that. So female founders, female leaders, community collaboration, all coming together towards sharing a common purpose is what's ultimately important. So obviously we encourage any females that are out there that would like to share in this particular community to join your group.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I like to share is, even if you're not investing in short-term rentals today, but you're thinking about it or trying to find out if maybe this is an avenue that you want to explore in the future, coming in and being a spectator and seeing what other people are saying, I think is a really helpful way to go in and enter the industry with your eyes wide open, so you know what you're going to be investing in the future.
Yeah, great. And I think that, I'm blown away by it. I think it's really fantastic. I know that there was a few topics that we're going to talk about in terms of managing remotely and that sort of thing. But there's one topic that I want to kind of round this episode out on, and that is talking about teams and people within the team and how important that is to you running your business. Because to fill everyone in, you are running remotely at the moment. And I guess because you're a community leader and your community spirit, I imagine that's the same philosophy that you would have with the teams that you run. Tell us about the teams and how you go about creating the right team to help you with your business.
Yeah. So I am a huge believer that you are as strong as the people around you, right? And let's face it, we always kind of joke that it takes a village to run a short-term rental. But, for me personally, I started off investing in short-term rentals, and I had a full-service property manager, and she was my team. They were a very trusted, valued partner. And what I found was over time, as I began to get more comfortable with the short-term rental space, and I began to want to have a little more control over my own portfolio, I decided to start self-managing. And when we go from that full service property management to a self-management model, it's very different, right? And so building out a team of people that help me, quite honestly, operate in my genius zone, it helps me in so many ways just operate more efficiently. But I think number one, knowing what your genius zone is really important. So as an example, I leverage a co-host to help me manage guest communications and the day-to-day bookings, right? Do I have to have that? No. But I would not trade my co-host for the world because she is amazing at what she does, but she helps me operate my business more efficiently. And at the same time, I can use my brain power to help manage my other team members, like my cleaner.
Having the right infrastructure for them to be able to thrive and operate in is important, and them to have understanding of where your genius is so that they can operate within their own genius zones is incredibly important. But on that note, I'm going to wrap this one up because we are out of time for today. But what it does is it gives us the opportunity to meet again and to have more conversations, which will be of huge value because we have a huge list of things to talk about. So I definitely want to do that. Definitely before the end of the year, I would like to touch base with you and see how you're doing, see how the community is growing, see what you've learned and what you can share once again with everybody. But because you've been so wonderful and you are sharing with everybody, is there anything that our community can do for you?
Well, that's so sweet of you to ask. You know what? I would just invite anyone who is interested in connecting with a community of women, as long as you're a woman, to join our Facebook group over at Female Short-Term Rental Investors. We've also just launched the Short-Term Rental Society, which is an online global member-based organization of short-term rental hosts, as well as short-term rental vendors and service providers. And so if that is something that you would love to get plugged into, I would welcome the opportunity to say hello to you on the inside there. And that website address is strconnections.com.
Beautiful. We'll put that website link into the show notes. But just to summarize for everyone, if you are a supplier and if you want to get on there and show your services, so be it anywhere from tech to cleaning to whatever it might be within the accommodation stroke short-term rental space, or if you are in need of these different resources. So, hey, I'm looking for the best software. This is where you'd go to get those tools. Stacey, you're wonderful. Thank you so much once again for joining us on this particular episode. I've really enjoyed it. I love talking to you. You've got immensely positive energy. I can see you're going to go far and you're going to be a real leader in this industry for a long time to come. So thanks a lot for spending the time with us. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much, Bart. It's a pleasure.
Beautiful. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic rest of the week.
Yay!